The air crackled, not with heat, but with an ancient, untamed energy. A desert wind whispered secrets of a moment that would rewrite empires. Before us lies a scene of raw, primal power, a convergence point where the mundane met the impossible. A lone figure, a man on the run, finds himself at the precipice of revelation. His life and the destiny of a people hanging in the balance. This is not merely a story. It is a cold case, a deep dive into the very bedrock of faith and history, demanding we unearth the tactile realities and the hidden currents that shaped this singular seismic event. From the hardened earth beneath his sandals to the faint etchings on stone, every element speaks to a truth waiting to be uncovered. This is the deconstruction of a divine encounter, a tactical analysis of the Horeb region. We stand at a crossroads of monumental significance, a place etched by millennia of human passage and divine intervention. The rugged, unforgiving terrain of the Sinai Peninsula, specifically the area surrounding the Gebel Musa, the traditional Mount Horeb, forms the backdrop for our investigation. This vast expanse of arid mountains and wadis, crisscrossed by ancient routes vital for both pastoral migration and trade between Egypt and the Levant, is our crime scene, now largely corresponding to the modern St. Catherine Monastery's environs. The geological strata here tell tales of seismic shifts and volcanic activity, shaping the very pathways trodden by figures like Moses. This precise geographical nexus is critical. It is within this crucible of nature and history that a pivotal confrontation with the divine was set to unfold. Our chronological anchor plunges us into the crucible of the Late Bronze Age, an era of shifting empires and burgeoning national identities across the ancient Near East, while Moses' own lineage traces back through the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, placing this event firmly within the complex tapestry of Israelite sojourns. Its immediate context resonates with the political climate of New Kingdom Egypt, a period marked by pharaonic expansion and control over its foreign territories, including volatile regions like the Sinai. On a global scale, civilizations like the Hittites in Anatolia were solidifying their power, while Mesopotamia experienced its own dynastic struggles. In Crete, the Minoan civilization was reaching its zenith, and further afield, early stages of what would become the Mycenaean culture were taking root in Greece. All of this provides a vast canvas upon which the singular narrative of a nomadic leader's divine commission at Horeb would eventually cast an indelible shadow, rippling forward through the generations to the advent of Christ and continuing to shape the spiritual landscape of the modern world. And then, the encounter itself. Driven from the opulent courts of Egypt, a prince turned fugitive, Moses, the shepherd, finds himself in the desolate expanse of the wilderness. His life, once defined by luxury and command, was now dictated by the harsh rhythms of nomadic existence, a stark contrast to the gilded cages of Pharaoh's palace. Leading his father-in-law's flock, his days were spent navigating the treacherous, sun-baked valleys and rocky outcrops, his mind no doubt wrestling with the monumental events that had forced his flight. Years of reflection, of observation, of a life stripped bare, had forged a resilience, a connection to the earth and sky that the empire had never truly touched. It was in this profound solitude, on the fringes of the known world, that the divine began to make its presence known, not through pronouncements of power, but through a spectacle of impossible natural phenomena. A thorn bush, ignited yet unconsumed, became the focal point of an epiphany that would shatter the established order. Acacia staff, the nomad's weapon. The physical realities of the Horeb region are stark, and the tools of survival here were as elemental as the landscape itself. The acacia shepherd's staff, or shittim wood staff, as it might have been known to Moses, is a prime example of this indispensable material hardware. Crafted from the resilient, thorny acacia trees abundant in the arid zones of the Sinai and the broader Near East, these staffs were far more than simple walking sticks. They were extensions of the shepherd's will and his primary interface with a challenging environment. Their sturdy construction, derived from wood, known for its durability and resistance to decay, made them ideal for navigating treacherous, rocky terrain, providing stability on steep slopes and helping to identify hidden pitfalls. More critically, these staffs were essential for managing and guiding flocks of sheep and goats across vast, often unfenced pastures. A skilled shepherd could use the staff to gently steer animals, to separate individuals from the herd, or to retrieve stragglers from precarious situations. Beyond flock management, the staff also served as a vital defense mechanism against the predators that roamed the wilderness. From wolves to large cats, offering a degree of protection for both the shepherd and his livelihood. Ancient Egyptian depictions of pastoral life consistently showcase figures wielding similar staves, a testament to their ubiquitous nature and their fundamental role in the material culture of anyone reliant on the land. The very substance of the staff, the acacia wood, was itself a gift of this harsh environment, demonstrating how survival was intrinsically linked to understanding and utilizing the local resources. His steps slowed, his gaze fixed on the impossible blaze. A bush aflame, yet its leaves remained verdant, its branches untouched by destruction. The very laws of nature seemed to bend and twist before his eyes, demanding his attention, drawing him closer. This was no ordinary occurrence. It was a disruption of the established order, a theological anomaly that spoke directly to his dislocated existence. The crackling sound, amplified in the desert stillness, seemed to penetrate his very being, a voice not of wind or animal, but of something infinitely more profound. Every instinct screamed caution, yet an irresistible force compelled him forward, towards the heart of this burning enigma. This was the moment of transition, from fugitive to messenger, from observer to participant in a drama far grander than his own personal plight. The divine was asserting its presence, and the wilderness was its cathedral. The narrative of Moses' flight from Egypt, a foundational element in understanding his presence at Horeb, is characterized by its stark simplicity and the profound personal stakes involved. Having grown up within the Pharaoh's household, exposed to its power and sophistication, Moses was then forced to flee into the harsh wilderness after taking the life of an Egyptian overseer who was brutalizing a Hebrew slave. This act of violence, born of empathy and a nascent sense of justice, severed him irrevocably from his privileged past. It was in the Sinai Peninsula, while tending the flocks of his father-in-law Jethro, a Midianite priest, that Moses experienced the pivotal encounter with God at the burning bush. This period of his life, prior to the Exodus, was one of profound transformation, stripping away the vestiges of his Egyptian upbringing and immersing him in the challenging realities of nomadic existence, forging the character and resilience necessary for his future leadership. Sinai inscriptions. The Pharaoh's file, the Sinai Peninsula, far from being a lawless void, was a region intricately tied to Egyptian imperial interests, and the scattered inscriptions found here offer a unique glimpse into the subversive politics and administrative reach of the pharaohs. While not directly detailing Moses' experience, these petroglyphs and graffiti, often found at sites like Sarabet, el-Khadim, a turquoise mining complex, and along ancient routes, serve as the pharaoh's file, documenting Egyptian presence, expeditions, and claims of sovereignty over this strategically vital territory. Created by miners, soldiers, and officials, these inscriptions frequently bear cartouches of pharaohs from various dynasties, proclaiming their might and dominion over the land and its resources. They speak of royal expeditions, the extraction of valuable minerals like turquoise and copper, and the establishment of temporary or semi-permanent Egyptian outposts, demonstrating a consistent, albeit sometimes tenuous, control exerted by Egypt over the Sinai for millennia. This archaeological layer reveals a complex political landscape where Egyptian authority was asserted through monumental inscriptions and the organization of labor, providing a counterpoint to the biblical narrative of Israelite enslavement and oppression. It illustrates that the wilderness was in fact a territory under significant geopolitical scrutiny and exploitation by the dominant regional power, adding layers of complexity to the subsequent Exodus narrative and the notion of liberation from Egyptian bondage. The presence of these inscriptions, often carved into prominent rock faces, served as a visible assertion of Egyptian power. It's a constant reminder to any who traverse these routes of who truly held sway. The divine summons, a voice emanating from the heart of the inferno, cut through the silence, calling him by name. Moses, Moses. A profound recognition, a knowing that transcended mere sound, washed over him. The instruction was clear. Remove his sandals, for the ground he stood upon was holy. In this simple, ritualistic act, the boundary between the secular and the sacred was irrevocably blurred. The man of flesh and blood was being called to participate in a divine covenant. The weight of the message, the mandate to liberate his people from the iron grip of Egypt, settled upon him. A task of unimaginable scale, fraught with peril and demanding a faith that could move mountains or indeed part seas. He voiced his inadequacy, his fear of public speaking, the ingrained hesitations of a man who had lived in the shadows for so long. But the divine assurance was absolute, accompanied by the promise of a divine presence that would never falter. This was the critical turning point, the moment of reluctant acceptance, the genesis of an odyssey that would forever alter the course of human history. Acacia staff, the nomad's weapon, the material culture of the Sinai shepherd, exemplified by the acacia staff, provides a tangible link to the daily existence of Moses during his years in Midian. The resilience of acacia wood, shittim wood, was paramount, its ability to withstand a harsh desert climate, with its extreme temperature fluctuations and abrasive sandstorms, made it the ideal material for tools that needed to endure constant use. Archaeologists and art historians examining ancient Egyptian reliefs and tomb paintings frequently find depictions of shepherds with long, sturdy staffs, often uncannily similar in form to what would have been fashioned from acacia. These staffs were not merely for walking, they were multifunctional instruments of survival. For guiding the flock, a shepherd would use the staff to gently nudge animals, to direct them towards water sources or better grazing land, and crucially, to pull back any animal that strayed too close to a cliff edge or dangerous terrain. In terms of defense, the staff provided a physical barrier against wild animals, allowing a shepherd to ward off predators or to defend himself during an encounter. Its practicality underscored the ingenuity required to thrive in such an environment. It represented a deep understanding of local botany and the inherent properties of materials available. The acacia staff, therefore, is not just a simple object, but a symbol of the practical. Grounded knowledge Moses acquired, knowledge that would later be tested against the might of Egypt. The layers of inscription and evidence unearthed in the Sinai paint a complex picture of this desolate region. Far from being an untouched wilderness, it was a strategically significant territory, heavily influenced and often controlled by Egyptian imperial ambitions. The numerous petroglyphs and carved inscriptions, found at sites like Sarabet el-Khadim and along ancient pathways, serve as the pharaoh's file, a testament to Egyptian mining operations, military patrols, and assertions of sovereignty. These markings, bearing the names and cartouches of various pharaohs, demonstrate a continuous Egyptian presence and administration of the Sinai's resources, particularly turquoise and copper, over vast stretches of time. This historical context challenges any simplistic view of the Sinai as merely an empty land. It was a frontier zone, a resource-rich area actively managed and exploited by the New Kingdom and other Egyptian dynasties. Understanding this deeply embedded Egyptian presence is crucial when considering the biblical narrative of Israelite enslavement and subsequent exodus. It suggests that Moses' flight and the eventual liberation of his people occurred within a geopolitical arena where Egyptian influence was a dominant and ever-present force, making their escape not just a spiritual triumph but a daring geopolitical maneuver against a deeply entrenched power. The sheer volume of these inscriptions signifies a robust administrative and military apparatus dedicated to securing and utilizing this territory. He stood at the threshold of the impossible, the divine presence a tangible force. The bush burned, an inferno of holy light, yet remained unharmed. The command to remove his sandals was an act of profound reverence, a recognition that the very dust beneath his feet was now consecrated ground. The weight of destiny descended. He was to be the instrument of liberation, the voice of a people silenced for generations. His protests, his self-doubt, were met not with judgment, but with an unwavering promise of divine partnership. This was the genesis of the Exodus, the moment a shepherd accepted his calling. The divine message, delivered through an unprecedented celestial spectacle, was not an abstract theological pronouncement, but a concrete directive, a tactical briefing for a mission that would redefine freedom. The wilderness, stripped of its harshness, became the stage for a divine commission, a testament to the power of faith in the face of overwhelming odds. The acacia shepherd's staff, a commonplace artifact of nomadic life in the Sinai, embodies the practical material culture that shaped the existence of individuals like Moses. This resilient tool, fashioned from the hardy acacia wood, shittim wood abundant in arid regions, was indispensable for survival in the challenging topography of the Horeb area. Beyond its basic function as a walking aid, the staff was critical for navigating treacherous terrain, offering stability on rocky slopes and helping to probe for hidden hazards. It was also the primary means by which a shepherd controlled and guided his flock across vast, open pastures capable of gently directing animals or retrieving strays. Its utility extended to defense, providing a crucial deterrent against predators that inhabited the wilderness. Archaeological evidence, including ancient Egyptian depictions of pastoral scenes, consistently illustrates shepherds wielding similar, simple, durable wooden staves, confirming their widespread use and importance. The acacia staff, therefore, represents not just a piece of hardware, but a symbol of the intimate knowledge and practical skills required to subsist in this environment, knowledge that Moses would have possessed in abundance during his time as a shepherd. The landscape of the Sinai, inscribed with the marks of Egyptian authority, reveals a complex geopolitical reality far removed from a simple desert void. The presence of numerous petroglyphs and graffiti, particularly at mining sites like Sarabat, el-Khadim, and along ancient routes, functions as the Pharaoh's file, a sprawling record of Egyptian imperial reach and resource exploitation. These inscriptions, often featuring royal cartouches, document expeditions, labor organization, and claims of dominion over the Sinai's valuable mineral wealth, such as turquoise and copper. This archaeological layer confirms that the Sinai was a strategically managed territory, subject to consistent Egyptian administrative oversight and military presence throughout various dynasties. This understanding is vital for appreciating the Exodus narrative. It underscores that Moses' mission and the eventual escape of the Israelites were not from an indifferent wasteland, but from a region under the direct and active control of a powerful empire, framing their liberation as a profound challenge to established Egyptian hegemony and a testament to a higher power's intervention in human affairs. The sheer scale of these Egyptian assertions of control speaks volumes about the region's importance. The air thrummed with an energy that defied explanation. A thorn bush, a common sight in the parched landscape, blazed with an unearthly fire, its foliage untouched by the consuming flames. The voice, disembodied yet intimately familiar, spoke Moses' name, commanding him to approach, to acknowledge the sacredness of the ground by removing his sandals. In this moment of profound surrender, the hardened shepherd was irrevocably called to a higher purpose, to lead his enslaved people out of Egypt. Despite his trepidation, his deeply ingrained hesitations about his own capabilities, the divine assurance was absolute, promising an omnipresent support that would never falter. This encounter at Horeb was not just a vision, it was a tactical briefing, a divine mandate delivered through a spectacular, nature-defying event, igniting a mission that would echo through eternity. Consider the implications of such a direct, undeniable manifestation. Share your thoughts on how such evidence might reshape our understanding of ancient events in the comments below. If you find this deep dive into history compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe to Faith and Facts for more investigative journeys into the past.